everyone, Emily here and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to be trying another viral recipe that I found on TikTok. Now this one was viral like last year, so I think I'm a little bit late to it, but it still sounds really good. It is a super high protein edible cookie dough. You make it with cottage cheese, almond flour, protein powder. It actually sounds like it would be really good, and it might just be perfect for the holiday season when you want some cookies, but maybe something that's a little bit on the healthier side. So we're gonna give this a try and see how it comes out. Let's get started. All the recipes that I've come across for this are basically the same, so I'm just kind of picking one and following it. It does make a lot. The one that I'm following calls for a full pound of cottage cheese, so I'm just going to cut that recipe in half because I don't think I need that much of this cookie dough hanging around the house. So I'm gonna start off with half of a container of cottage cheese straight into a blender. So this will be about a half a pound, and I'm just gonna eyeball it. You could use stevia to sweeten this if you wanted to keep it super low carb, but I'm just gonna follow the recipe and add in about an 1/8 cup of maple syrup. And finally, a splash of vanilla. Some of the recipes do say to blend the dry ingredients straight into this, but the one that I'm following just says to blend up the wet ingredients and we'll hand mix in the others. So you could probably do whatever you prefer, but I'm just gonna go ahead and blend up just the wet ingredients in the blender here. This looks nice and smooth, so I'm just going to add this into a large mixing bowl. And then we're going to mix in our dry ingredients, and we're almost done. This is gonna be so easy. For the dry ingredients, it's just almond flour, which is really just ground up almonds, protein powder, and then we're gonna also add in some chocolate chips. So I'm gonna start off with 1 cup of almond flour. Now, this is what makes it edible without having to bake it. If you're using just regular flour, you do at the very least have to cook that flour first because raw flour can make you a little bit sick. So the almond flour, you don't have to do anything to. It's just ground up almonds. And then I'm going to add in a 1/4 cup of protein powder, and this is just a vanilla protein powder, but you could use maybe a different flavor if you wanted to flavor the cookies slightly different. And then I'll stir this up until it's really well combined before adding in my chocolate chips. This way I can kind of gauge the thickness of the dough and see if I need to add in maybe a little bit more almond flour or protein powder based off of how much cottage cheese I used, because I didn't really measure that. You know, I think measuring it in pounds really threw me off, and I think that container was more than a pound, so I probably added in like 3/4 of a pound instead of a half a pound. So I am gonna add in just a little bit more almond flour, a little bit more protein powder, and I'll also add in a little bit more of the maple syrup for sweetness, and then just keep on mixing this until the consistency is right. But if you follow the measurements that I gave, it'll come out fine. I just didn't follow my own measurements. I'm pretty happy with the consistency, so I'm also going to add in a 1/2 cup of chocolate chips. This is looking really good, and just out of my own curiosity, I kind of want to see if you can actually bake this and turn them into little cookies. So I'm gonna also give that a try and pop a few of these into the oven. I have a parchment lined baking sheet here, and I'm just going to scoop on a couple of these to make a couple small cookies here, or maybe large cookies, I don't know. We'll see how they spread. And then I'm just gonna pop these into the oven at 350 degrees, and I'll check on them in about 10 minutes and see how they're coming along. Now, while these bake, really the whole point of this is that you don't have to bake it. So let's give this cookie dough a try and see how it is just on its own. Here's a close-up look at this cookie dough, and it does look really good. It has thickened up just a little bit as it has sat there, so it might solidify even more in the fridge, which would be just fine with the texture. So let's give this a try and see how it came out. That is so good. If you are craving cookie dough, this is definitely gonna hit the spot. It's not just kind of like cookie dough, it definitely tastes like it, and it's really good. Now the texture is just a little bit grainy because of the almond flour, but I don't really mind that texture. I think it's actually really pleasant, and I don't see any issues with this unless you're allergic to almonds, in which case you just can't make this recipe, and I'm not sure what would be an appropriate substitute for the almond flour. Otherwise, this is fantastic, and I'll definitely be making it again. Now let's wait and see how the cookies came out. My timer just went off for the cookies that I put in the oven, so let's see how they came out. They don't look amazing, but you never know. They might taste amazing. They've definitely firmed up. They're very solid. They just kind of have a funny look to them. So let's give these a few minutes to cool off, and then we'll give them a try. Okay, these cookies have had a little time to cool off. So let's break this open and see what it looks like inside. And I would say it definitely looks, let's see if I can get it to focus in on that a little bit better. There we go. It's definitely looking good. It looks like a cookie on the inside. The outside doesn't look fantastic, but let's see how it tastes. I would say that's the important part. Not bad. This is definitely a little bit better as a cookie dough compared to a cookie, but I would say the cookies actually taste pretty good. So if you ever had a protein cookie or a chocolate chip protein bar, I kind of prefer this to what I've had from the grocery store. I just don't like that fake sugar taste, and these definitely don't have that. So I would say that's a big plus for me. And these are still super high protein. There's about 20 grams, slightly more per serving if you divide this up by 5. And so that would be about 2 cookies or about this much, so probably 3/4 of a cup or so of the actual cookie dough. So really not bad if you're looking for something that has that little sweet taste, tastes like cookie dough, tastes like a cookie, and has just a little bit more protein and is a little bit more filling. I would say I'll be making this again. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, don't forget to hit subscribe and the bell icon so you can get notified every time I post. As always, you can find the full recipe to this down in the description box below, along with links to all my social media pages so you can follow along for more cooking content. Hope to see you back here next time.